We often tend to think of Mars when talking about Earth's twin, probably because of the way the red planet has been glorified on paper, on screens, and in the dreams of space adventurers. But that's a common mistake. In fact, what the term originally designated, and still does among astronomers, is in fact Venus, the true twin of our planet. Venus is in many ways more like Earth than Mars will ever be, although at first glance its unwelcoming appearance, the clouds of sulfuric acid swirling around the surface, and the extreme temperatures, 460 degrees Celsius, make it look anything but. Underneath all that though, the similarities are remarkable. Venus is just 5% smaller in diameter than Earth, it has a similar mass and a similar density, its core is, just like Earth's, made mostly of iron and nickel, there are rocky mantles over that, probably rich in minerals, and a rather thin crust to keep it all contained. Because of this there is a general consensus that Earth and Venus, the second and third planets from the Sun in our solar system, formed at roughly the same time from roughly the same materials. And there are even hints that, for a long period of time, Venus resembled our planet in other ways as well. It had liquid water oceans, and a more manageable atmosphere. Then, somehow, the planet started to get really hot, and ended up the way it is today. Because of its unwelcoming nature and general lack of potential, Venus lost to Mars the race for our species' interest. To date, there have been over 40 missions to the planet, about the same as there have been to Mars, but in Venus' case the list includes gravity-assist flybys and generally less impressive technologies than the one sent to the fourth planet from the Sun. Some of us might get a sense the tides are shifting, as several important missions to Venus are planned over the next few years. One of them is the so-called Deep Atmosphere Venus Investigation of Noble Gases, Chemistry, and Imaging, or DAVINCI. The NASA mission, named after Italian polymath Leonardo da Vinci for some reason, is scheduled to launch early next decade, and it will comprise a spacecraft and a descent probe. It's a mission that comes with a series of firsts, some of which might give us an entirely new understanding of our neighbor. In a general sense, the flight is not that spectacular, but its goals are. There will be 2 flybys of the planet performed by the DAVINCI spacecraft, and during each one studies of the planet's clouds and highlands will be performed. The descent probe, the first one to be dropped into the planet's atmosphere this century, will try to give us readings on the atmosphere and clouds, including by snapping photographs as it gets closer and closer to the surface. DAVINCI will mark the first time humans have studied a region of the planet that goes by the name of Tessera, located in the so-called Alpha Regio zone. Covering about 8% of the Venusian surface, it is so far a feature unique to that planet, manifested as highlands, but possibly former continental leftovers from back in the day when Venus had oceans. Studying them might give us a better idea of how the place was back in the day, as these tessera are believed to be some of the oldest formations on Venus, billions of years old, that is. To properly view Alpha Regio, the mission will use, for the first time in the study of Venus, both infrared and optical cameras. That's because until now, the high temperatures there and the opaque atmosphere, only radar instruments have been used. DAVINCI will be the first mission dedicated to taking a close look at the chemical composition of Venus' lower atmosphere, something that falls on the probe that will be deployed. It is believed that the lower atmosphere is where gases and chemical compounds originating from the surface may be found, and that's essential in us getting a better sense of what is beneath all that floating poison we see covering Venus. There is still a lot of time left until DAVINCI gets going, and still a lot to learn about the spacecraft and the probe themselves. But these initial details are more than enough to get the blood of planetary scientists pumping at the prospect of the discoveries. You should also note that the DAVINCI is not the only mission to Venus planned for the coming years. NASA itself is working on a second one, called Veritas, and its European counterpart does the same with something called Envision, the first mission to Venus with a subsurface radar sounding instrument.